With variables and operators together, we can then move on to what are called control structures. Control structures are lines of code that control other lines of code. We'll start with conditionals. Conditionals are how we build more complex behavior in our programs. We can tell our programs to perform certain tasks only if certain conditions are met, like rejecting a calendar invite if the user is already busy at that time, or closing a file if everything in it has already been read. Notice the word if in both those examples. Conditionals are also called if statements. A conditional runs certain lines of code if some condition is true, which is why our logical operators from the previous unit were so important. Conditionals then give way to even more complex control structures called loops. Loops are how we tell our programs to repeat a certain set of commands a certain number of times, or until some certain condition is, once again, true. We might use loops to change the names of every file in a folder, for example, or to keep waiting for user input until they've put something in, or to play a sound a certain number of times. With loops, we're echoing the idea that if you want to perform certain commands multiple times, it's better to just have the lines of code for those commands in one place and refer to them when you need them, rather than copying them multiple times. That gets us to the idea of functions. Functions are like little programs with their own input and output that let us organize our code better. Finally, we'll revisit the idea of debugging with more sophistication by talking about exceptions. As we develop more complex code, we'll encounter instances where we might not want to fix every error. We might instead want to anticipate and account for errors. We want to run certain lines of code if an error is encountered. Error handling is using conditionals that monitor for errors. This level of knowledge covers a huge portion of the foundation of computing. In fact, some of the most complex applications you've heard of, from space shuttles to early video games, are written without much more knowledge than we've described in these first 3 units.